We all know Mike Tyson as the baddest man on the planet and the most vicious fighter in his prime. Once an unstoppable beast inside the squared circle. Despite dominating the toughest heavyweights in his prime, Tyson's biggest challenge was not even inside the boxing ring. It was the controversies that bugged him his whole career. We're talking about animal abuse, domestic violence, and even knocking paparazzi out. Mike Tyson is truly ruthless. But out of all the crimes that Mike Tyson committed, he revealed the one that he regretted the most. At such a young age, Mike Tyson found out the harsh reality of the world, growing up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, one of the poorest and messiest neighborhoods in New York City. Mike would forever be traumatized by the grueling neighborhood in Brownsville, where crime in the 1970s and 1980s was at its highest.
At a young age, I was really experienced at a young age. I knew what was happening. Like I'm 10 years old. I knew what time it was.
I started in Bedford-Stuyvesant, and it was not a bad neighborhood at that time.
Mike Tyson also revealed that growing up in that kind of a neighborhood made him despise life and set his life on a dark path. And at the age of only 12 years old, the young Mike Tyson got himself arrested for the very first time after snatching a purse and getting sent to Tryon School for Boys.
Crimes would you commit?
Yes, anything. Just name anything. Armed robberies. It's just bad stuff. Brutal robberies.
Mike spent his days at a reform school, but little did he know that his life was about to change inside those walls. A social worker and avid boxing fan, Bobby Stewart, recognized Tyson's boxing potential. Since death was always in Tyson's footsteps, having to learn self-defense is very necessary. And that led Tyson to learn boxing and be exceptional at it. He was used to boxing grown men at 12 years old. Bobby Stewart introduced Mike to the legendary boxing coach Cus D'Amato, where he would train Mike rigorously. At 16 years old, when Mike's mother died, Cus became his guardian and became one of the biggest influences in Tyson's life. Mike and Cus cruised past every phenomenal heavyweight and became the youngest heavyweight champions at age 20. Mike was on top of the world. He has a title on his waist, he's making millions. His life turned around from a juvenile kid to the greatest heavyweight on the planet. But illuminating fame blinded Tyson as he got caught in malicious controversies. Some of his misdemeanors were just Mike being Mike. In 1988, Mike was involved in a minor car collision in New York. What did Mike do? He gave his $183,000 Rolls Royce to two policemen. He just gave it away. Unlucky for the policemen, they got suspended when their superiors found out.
Hey, sir, why don't you just take the car? You deserve it, because he got fired.
He did?
Yeah.
Mike was a bad man during his prime years. He did not back down from anybody, not even from a known gang leader, Mitch Green.
And I hit Mitch, and Mitch went down, and he bent over, and I grabbed his head, and I hit him. His head hit the floor, and hit the concrete. Boom!
Mike even broke a bone in his right hand during that Harlem brawl. Right after that, Mike's life came spiraling down, as just almost 2 weeks later, Tyson crashed his BMW into a tree in what the New York Daily News reported as a suicide attempt caused by a chemical imbalance. But as things could not go any worse for Tyson, just a month after the BMW incident,
he was accused of hitting his wife. She was accused of dominating him.
He and his wife, Robin Givens, got into an argument, and reports said that Tyson threw furniture out of the window. Givens flew with her mother and filed for divorce 5 days later.
Tonight, a move that could keep one of the most talked about divorce cases out of the courts.
That divorce became a major issue in America as Givens accused Tyson of domestic violence. This only added to Tyson's already controversial reputation. As controversial as Mike Tyson's life outside boxing was, he was still very dominant in the squared circle, becoming heavyweight champion multiple times and even being named the most wealthy athlete in 1990, tying basketball legend Michael Jordan. Mike's character was widely disliked by many, but they cannot deny the boxing prowess Tyson possessed. He was a gifted fighter, and he could go for another 5 to 10 years dominating his weight class. But then an allegation turned Mike's life upside down. In March 1992, Mike Tyson was convicted of 1 count of rape and 2 counts of deviant sexual conduct against 18-year-old Miss Black America contestant Desiree Washington. As Mike's illustrious boxing career came to a halt, it was time for him to serve his time in prison. And as all of you know, Mike's prison stories never cease to shock his avid fans. Mike actually had a decent stay in prison. He was so well behaved that he was granted a shorter term in prison. He was working out every single day, bulking up his body. He was even visited by the famous rapper Tupac Shakur in prison. But the craziest prison story that you will ever hear about Tyson is that he slept with a prison counselor just to pass his GED.
You know, I'm dating one of the council workers now. She's letting me have sex with her now, so I'm going good.
But according to Tyson, his time in prison was the best 3 years of his life. He found peace inside those cells.
No bad experience.
No bad experience.
Beautiful experience. I felt very safe there.
As soon as Mike left prison, he was on peak Mike Tyson form once again. For the first time since 1992, Mike Tyson was back inside the boxing ring in 1995 against the Hurricane Peter McNeely. Tyson looked as dominant as ever, and as he quickly dispatched McNeely in just one round, proving all the doubters wrong. But as soon as Mike came back into the industry, controversies never stopped bugging him. He was involved in multiple sexual assault allegations and a couple of vehicle accidents. But in 1997, Mike became the center of controversy once again, a controversy that haunted Tyson for decades. In 1996, in a heavyweight super fight, Mike Tyson fought the superstar Evander Holyfield for the WBA heavyweight title. Unfortunately for Mike, Holyfield got the best of him in the 11th round with a TKO. A year later, the most anticipated championship rematch was booked. Well, you know what happened next.
You can see it! You can see it! There it is!
The next incident caused massive outrage amongst boxing fans and massively hurt the already low public opinion about Mike. After that fight, Tyson's career continued to skid downward. Age also caught up to Tyson, as he showed clear signs of losing his tremendous power and impeccable agility. His antics outside the boxing ring were getting worse as well. In 1999, he was convicted of assaulting 2 motorists and sentenced to 2 years of probation. He was also accused of animal cruelty in 2002, along with other sexual assault charges. In 2003, Mike filed for bankruptcy, owing almost $38 million to the IRS. Mike spent the next decade dealing with minor offenses and even guesting on shows. Mike also accepted a few fights before he officially retired in 2005. Mike continued to lay low for a while as he hashed things out with former fighters that he had unsettled business with, including his rival, Evander Holyfield. Now, on his podcast, Hot Boxin', Mike shared his thoughts about what he regrets the most about his vicious, no-holds-barred lifestyle back then.
And that's the only thing I regret. That's the only stuff I regret. I wanted to talk like a human being to those people, but in order to be what I wanted to do, I had to.
Mike, since retiring from boxing, has had a number of ventures. He became an actor and also starred in his own biographical films. Mike fought his way back and regained his life. He went on to set up his own boxing promotions company called Iron Mike Productions and also owned thousands of hectares of land that were dedicated to his cannabis business. Mike's incredible journey is still a fascinating tale. He's truly one of a kind.